The atmosphere at HNRY Stadium was filled with anticipation as the All Blacks stepped onto the field against Italy in the Nations Championship, knowing that every performance would be closely examined ahead of tougher challenges later in the season. By the final whistle, New Zealand had secured an impressive 47-17 victory, but the score alone did not tell the complete story. The contest was filled with moments of brilliance, periods of frustration, and individual performances that revealed both the strengths and areas for improvement within the squad. While several players produced memorable displays, one name rose above everyone else as the clear headline maker. Will Jordan once again reminded rugby fans why he is regarded as one of the world's most dangerous finishers, producing a performance that combined intelligence, composure, and clinical finishing to create another unforgettable chapter in his already remarkable career. From the opening stages, however, the match was far from straightforward. Italy arrived with a determined game plan and refused to be intimidated by the famous black jersey. Their defensive organization limited New Zealand's attacking rhythm during the early exchanges, forcing the hosts to work much harder than many supporters may have expected. Instead of flowing freely through multiple phases, the All Blacks often found themselves running into disciplined defensive lines, unable to create the space they usually enjoy. It was a reminder that international rugby continues to become increasingly competitive, with every nation capable of making life difficult for even the strongest teams. At fullback, Damian McKenzie worked tirelessly throughout the contest, constantly looking for opportunities to inject pace into the attack. His willingness to involve himself in the game could never be questioned, as he repeatedly searched for gaps and attempted to generate momentum. Unfortunately, many of those efforts ended with Italy's defenders closing the space before meaningful attacking combinations could develop. Much of that difficulty came from the lack of rhythm between McKenzie and Ruben Love, whose partnership never quite clicked as effectively as New Zealand would have hoped. Although McKenzie made valuable meters in transition, the final breakthrough often remained just out of reach. Then came the moment that shifted both the game and the narrative. Will Jordan, displaying the exceptional rugby intelligence that has become one of his trademarks, found space where very few players could even recognize an opportunity. Even during periods when Italy appeared to have contained New Zealand's attacking threats, Jordan stayed patient, reading the defensive patterns and waiting for his chance. When it finally arrived, he showed exactly why elite finishers separate themselves from everyone else. His first try demonstrated perfect positioning and timing, but what followed elevated his performance into something truly special. Later in the match, with the game opening up and fatigue beginning to affect the Italian defense, Jordan produced a remarkable solo effort that completely changed the momentum. Breaking tackles, accelerating into open space, and finishing with complete confidence, he showcased every quality expected from a world-class winger. As the game continued, he crossed the try line twice more to complete a magnificent hat-trick, setting a new try-scoring record and surpassing the long-standing achievement previously held by Doug Howlett. It was more than just another statistical milestone. It represented years of consistency, hard work, and elite performance at the highest level of international rugby. Moments like these become part of All Blacks history, and this was undoubtedly one of them. In midfield, the afternoon proved much more challenging for Billy Proctor. His match began in difficult fashion when he missed Tommaso Menoncello, allowing Italy to score an early try that immediately placed pressure on the home side. Defensive mistakes at this level are often punished, and this was no exception. Throughout much of the first half, Proctor struggled to leave his mark on the contest, finding it difficult to influence play in either attack or defense. As the game became more open after halftime, he managed to improve his involvement and contributed more effectively, but overall it remained a performance that lacked the authority expected from an international center. Comparisons with Quinn Tapia, who has impressed during recent matches, naturally became unavoidable, making the competition for the number 13 jersey even more fascinating moving forward. Alongside him, Jordie Barrett quietly demonstrated why experience and game awareness remain so valuable in international rugby. Although he was not the dominant ball carrier on this occasion, his vision created some of the game's most important moments. His perfectly timed decision-making helped set up Will Jordan's opening try, while later he delivered a beautifully floated pass that resulted in another scoring opportunity. It was not the flashiest display of the afternoon, but it highlighted how elite players often influence matches through intelligent choices rather than spectacular individual moments. On the left wing, Leroy Carter delivered an exciting performance that unfortunately ended earlier than anyone wanted. Before injury forced him from the field, he consistently looked like New Zealand's most dangerous attacking runner. At a time when the All Blacks struggled to create sustained momentum, Carter repeatedly challenged Italy's defense with confident running and quick footwork. One of his finest contributions came when he produced a brilliant assist that allowed Will Jordan to score, although that very action appeared to result in the injury that ended his afternoon. His departure was disappointing, especially considering the impact he had already made in limited time on the field. Fly half Ruben Love experienced a more complicated afternoon. Italy's defensive organization, particularly through the excellent work of one Ignacio Brex, successfully limited many of his preferred attacking options. Even so, Love continued to threaten with his running game and remained willing to test the defensive line whenever opportunities appeared. While this performance may not have represented a major step forward compared to previous outings, it also showed valuable resilience under pressure. With stronger opponents waiting in future fixtures, particularly Ireland, those upcoming matches will provide an even clearer picture of his development at international level. If Will Jordan provided the finishing brilliance, then scrum half Cam Roigard supplied the heartbeat of the All Blacks attack. Once again, he delivered an outstanding display that reinforced his growing reputation as one of rugby's finest number 9s. Throughout the contest, Roigard ensured his backline received quick, accurate service, allowing New Zealand to maintain attacking tempo whenever possible. As the match became more open during the second half, his influence grew even further. His speed around the breakdown, intelligent decision-making, and relentless energy constantly placed Italy under pressure. Every time the All Blacks needed greater urgency, Roigard seemed ready to provide it. His consistency has become one of the most impressive aspects of his game, and performances like this continue to strengthen comparisons with some of the finest scrum halves in modern rugby. Captain Ardie Savia once again demonstrated the relentless commitment that has defined his career. Every carry, tackle, and defensive effort reflected maximum intensity, regardless of the match situation. Italy managed to contain him more effectively than many recent opponents, preventing him from dominating collisions as completely as usual, but they never succeeded in reducing his work rate. Whether carrying the ball into heavy traffic or making important defensive stops, Savia remained fully committed from start to finish. Leadership is often measured through actions rather than words, and throughout this contest he continued to lead by example in every phase of play. The back row produced mixed results overall. Luke Jacobson enjoyed one particularly powerful carry that stood out as his most memorable contribution before leaving the field after 40 minutes. But beyond that moment he found it difficult to impose himself on proceedings. Italy's ability to slow New Zealand's possession reduced many of the opportunities for dynamic forward play, limiting his influence compared with previous performances. Wallace Sitidi also experienced a frustrating afternoon. Several costly handling mistakes interrupted promising attacking phases and prevented him from building sustained momentum. To his credit, he never stopped working and gradually improved as the match progressed, continuing to contribute around the field despite the difficult start. Nevertheless, performances at this level are judged by consistency, and reducing unforced errors will remain an important objective moving forward. As the final whistle sounded, the 47-17 scoreline reflected New Zealand's superior quality, yet it also highlighted valuable lessons ahead of even bigger challenges. The All Blacks showed resilience after a difficult opening period, demonstrated their ability to punish defensive mistakes when opportunities appeared, and celebrated a truly historic achievement through Will Jordan's record-breaking hat-trick. At the same time, the match reminded everyone that improvement remains essential, particularly in attack, defensive communication, and overall consistency against organized opposition. Victories of this nature build confidence, but they also provide coaching staff with important evidence about where further progress is required. Above all, this was a day that will be remembered for one extraordinary individual performance. Will Jordan delivered a display worthy of the occasion. Cam Roigard once again controlled the rhythm with remarkable composure, and the All Blacks walked away with both an important victory and another memorable chapter in their proud rugby history. For supporters, it was an afternoon filled with excitement, records,